We're at Pics Park in Courtenay. It's Andrena's Pics, and I'm Andrena Kasholti. Today we are again going to be talking with Boomer Jarrett of Strathcona Photography. The name like Boomer, you know, Boomer, I wanted to ask about your name because my kids have met you, and I just kind of say, well, you know, his name is Boomer. What a name, you know, it's a bit like, I don't even know what a good analogy would be. But is your real name Frank or Jim?
My real name is Leonard. There you go.
Like Leonard Cohen.
Leonard Simon. I'm a Leonard Simon. I don't know where Boomer came from. My parents can't give me a straight answer. It's always been since I was a couple weeks old. Australian nurse is what I've heard. But when people hear my real name's Leonard, they kind of go, Boomer. Yeah, stick with Boomer. I think it's on my mortgage.
Boomer Jarrett has been a really important collaborator with me on my stories. Thank you so much, Boomer Jarrett, for all of your great tips on photography. The main one being technical expertise about backing up, making sure that we're archiving our work and not losing things. How can we change with the times? Photography's been around for over a century, but with digital, how we treat photos has changed a lot. We've gone from having a family photo album to many of us only having digital copies of all our special memories. Digital copies are on a memory stick, a cell phone, and emails. Archiving digital photos has become super important.
Having the backup redundancy is really an important part of the digital age.
Boomer Jarrett has been a professional photographer in the Comox Valley for a lot of years. Since the 1990s, he's been doing photographs for families and also commercial photography. His editorial imagery has been seen in various tourism initiatives through Vancouver Island and British Columbia.
The idea of Facebook and this new technology where people are so quick to take shots and then move on to the next thing, that there really is a concern that if there's ever a house fire or people's files are in their computer, they're not backed up, they lose everything. So the idea of printing, like we did in the old days, is not, it's not really pushed as much as it should be. Because the long and short is a lot of people don't back up their computers. Or you hear horror stories where 3 or 4 or 5 years of pictures have gone missing because they're in digital form. We're at about a 15th of a second here. So now we're gonna let Andrena have some fun.
Okay.
Go for it. Take the shutter, use your shutter up here. You have to have some form of redundancy in whatever form it is. And the redundancy is a backup system. So for myself, when I download my images, they go into my computer and they're into a rated system, meaning when it goes into the computer, it goes to 2 hard drives. So right away, I've got 2 copies. Then I have an external hard drive not connected to the computer that I plug in every week and back up onto that. And then I also have another hard drive that is off-site. It's a safe deposit box in the bank. And I bring that in each month, 2 months, depending on how much information I'm ingesting in my computer, and I download onto that hard drive. And then my system is also set up to go into the cloud. So it goes off premises, it goes up into cyberspace, wherever that is, and it stays there and enjoys its life.
Thank you to the Vancouver Island Visitor Centre in the Comox Valley for lending us your lovely facility, and to Boomer Jarrett, our photographer, who has shared his very great tips on becoming a better photographer. For Shaw TV, I'm Andrena Kasholti. I think photography is very interesting because it's interesting for many ways, but partially because there's so many amateurs involved. And it must be interesting for you as a professional that this is what you do to earn your living, and that lots of other people do it as hobbyists.
Yeah.
And I think of this analogy of dentistry. You know, my dentist is a dentist, and I might be interested in it, but I don't start doing dentistry on the side.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, what do you...
Photography's it's not a regulated business like dentistry. I mean, there's certain credentials that you can get that we've gotten, but yeah, you're right. It's basically all hands out. Anybody who has a photography or has a camera can in theory start taking pictures. The idea of amateur and professional, as far as I'm concerned, there's not much difference between amateur and a professional. The only difference between a professional is that they have to make money. That's the pro. Professional is the money. But in terms of the quality of an amateur producing work, amateurs produce work just as good as oft times even better as a professional. But there's another art to it, which is business.
The next feature is going to be Daryl Tompkins, who is a photographer and an artist. He's combined the two. Photography can be a little confusing. There's a lot of choices for cameras, big cameras, small cameras, big pixels, small pixels. Do I take the fancy lens or something a bit more portable? Well, we're going to get some answers today from Daryl Tompkins, and she's going to remind us that in fact we do not need fancy equipment. We don't need big pixels, big megabytes. Get your picture taken, get it framed up and on display. Daryl Tompkins' photographs are on display here at the Pearl Ellis Gallery in Comox. She's really taken photographs beyond just photographs, and they've become art.
Initially, just do that. Take the things that you're enjoying and record them. And really a tip I think is for everyone now in the digital age is print out the ones that you like. And if it's something that's an art form, print it big and put it on your wall and live with it. And even if it's get it out there in your own bathroom, or your own kitchen. For me, this was a step again to get it out, to show other people what I love. This is a 5 megapixel camera. That's it. And I have had art shows with this camera. Some amazing photographs I've done with this little camera.
Daryl Tompkins is amazing because she's a retired geneticist. This is a lady who has a PhD and was a professor, and gosh, now she's an artist in her retirement life.
I was a professor at the University of Alberta. I was a laboratory director. I ran 2 laboratory services. I had graduate students and undergraduate students and did research and went to meetings, and it was quite an exciting career, but I retired early to go back to one of my childhood interests in art. And I chose the Comox Valley really because of North Island College and the program they had in fine arts.
Often people think that art is only painting, and this lady that we have here today is a wonderful photographer, in addition to also having the visual art skills that are usually put along with the other fine art handle.
So these, they're definitely floral, but I think there's an abstract quality, like an otherworldness about them. So to achieve that, I use a very good macro lens. I opened up the aperture to 2.8, so it was a good lens. A lot of lenses won't open up that far. So 2.8. So at that point, you have no depth of focus at all. And that's what I did. I would then say, I just love that little line right there. I'm going to focus on that and see what happens in the rest of the photograph. And then I might find I didn't like the color in the background, so I would put some leaves or something. Even though it's abstract, it has no form, it provided this place to go. And so these were all done that way.
From the Pearl Ellis Gallery in Comox for Shaw TV, I'm Andrena with Andrena's Pics. Thank you, Daryl Tompkins, for sharing your very important tips on great photography, which is have your photographs developed and place them on your wall so you can enjoy them every day. What about photographing animals and children? Portrait work. Is that something have you ever done portrait work? Do you like doing portrait work?
It's an interesting question.
What about weddings?
Yes.
Like, have you ever done weddings?
Yes.
And how awesome is it?
You know what? It's a very good question. And I'm teach students, I mentioned this thing to them as well, is that weddings and portraits are an awesome way for any photographer to start out and begin, and you make good money at it. But you have to be good at what you do and that stuff. And I shot weddings and portraits for well over 10 years, probably close to 15 years. And over the course of those years, I found out that I wasn't really very good at it in my own mind. I mean, clients were happy, but it didn't excite me. And so the more I shot, the more I realized I like portraiture, but I don't like doing formal portraiture. I don't like photographing weddings where everything's situational, and you as a photographer have to react to them. It's good for your learning your craft, but I much prefer being out and being on location, and like these folks down here at the river. You're watching them in action, and you're taking photos as they occur. You're not so much directing them, it's just there, and you as a photographer are watching and looking, which is what photography is all about. So I did it for a long time. I'm glad I did it. It was really good, but it's not my cup of tea, and my style is developed into more recreation lifestyle based.
I'm thinking there was probably an incident where a bride yelled at you, tore a strip off you, maybe a groom, or mother of the bride, mother of the groom, and you just felt dejected. Is that really what happened?
Do I have to say it?
Yeah, I know you don't have. You can maintain the mystery. Sharon Snyder has got to be one of the most patient photographers I've ever met. She has the patience to take pictures of dogs, children, all things that take a lot of patience. I'm so excited to learn more about photography and get some tips for how to have good photographs. I hope this one's going to be a good photograph. I feel like I'm going to look good here, and it's going to present me well. Taking nice pictures of your pets and your children, not that easy, not intuitive. We're going to learn some tips about how to get better photographs and really capture the moment. The 5 tips for taking excellent photographs are presented by Sharon Snyder of Sharon Snyder Photography. Today you're going to give us some tips on how to be a better photographer.
Yeah, I've got 5 tips. It's mostly for pets, but it works for kids too. There's a lot of similarities between taking pets and kids' pictures. So Maggie's going to help me out with these tips. And the first tip is to get down low. It's a lot more interesting if you get down on their level, because then you get a lot more interesting pictures. So, oh, that's cute. Because you're down on their level, you're seeing the world through their eyes, and it's just a lot more interesting, a lot more dynamic photo if you can get down low. Okay, so tip number 2 is get some help. So if you have a hyper dog or a rambunctious puppy or whatever, it's going to be really hard to do it yourself. So if you get an assistant, they can do lots of things. They can hold the leash, they can get some treats available, they can throw a ball. It's just a lot better for you and for the dog often if you have some help. So Maggie, come on up here. So tip number 3 is minimize distractions. So we've all seen pictures of people or pets with trees sticking out of their head or posts sticking out of the head. That doesn't look very good. So what you want to do is just before you take the shot, take a look around and make sure there's nothing getting in the way in the shot. So no people walking past or, you know, weird elements in the photo that you don't want. So, and sometimes it's just a matter of taking a step to the left or the right just to get the shot a little bit better. So tip number 4 is make it fun. So for Maggie, what makes it fun is treats. I've got a bunch in my pocket and she knows it. So she'll do almost anything for a treat. Sit. Yeah, there you go. For other dogs, it might be a ball or some kind of squeaky toy. They might want to play, run around, chase stick or whatever. Do what you need to do, just make it fun. And if you engage them, you're going to get a lot better pictures out of it.
So it's your final tip to make it a successful photo shoot.
Well, the last tip and probably the most important one is just, Maggie, just to be patient, because these are animals. They don't know why you're pointing black objects at them. They just want to have fun, right? So it's a digital age now. We can take lots of pictures for free. So I would say just have fun with it. Don't get stressed out over it. Take lots of time and do your best.
To see more of Sharon's portrait work and general photography work, please visit SharonSnyderPhotography.com. For Andrena's Pics for Shaw TV, I'm Andrena Kusholti.